Okay, so welcome to workshop 3 this morning. I'm having to change gears. We just finished up talking about some real basic starting points about adding Perusall social annotation to your Brightspace courses. What I want to talk about in this workshop and have some discussion questions back and forth. So please, as questions come up, raise your hand or just go ahead and unmute and ask. I want to talk a little bit about the AI tools that are available in Brightspace that at this point are really focused on, assisting faculty in putting courses together. So let me copy a link to a Google Doc that I'll be going off of for the session this morning. Yeah, I've been myself using various AI tools to help me put together some of the materials and stuff from my courses in the past. What we're going to be focusing on today are tools specifically in Brightspace that are available now, and we'll talk a little bit about a student-focused. These are all focused, faculty-focused, and we will talk a little bit at the end about a student-facing tool that should be available for our spring semester courses. So let me go ahead and I'll share my screen. And I've included the link here to the main landing page for the Lumi tool set that's part of Brightspace. All of the AI related functionality in Brightspace, at least in terms of tools that you can invoke to do various things, are under this D2L Lumi category. And what we'll be talking about today are summary and quiz and idea. Some of these tools like content and remix are not available to the SUNY contract right now because it is taking us forever to get campuses to agree to upgrade to the new content experience on Brightspace. So content and remix are off the table because we haven't yet switched over to the new content experience. Okay, so a little bit about how D2L is thinking about adding AI functionality to Brightspace. Again, the idea is to provide this functionality within the secure environment of Brightspace, and without having any concerns about content or other activities, interactions with the AI tools being sucked off somewhere to train someone else's, large language models. Brightspace, D2L has focused initially on what they consider faculty productivity tools, just little tools and tricks, tips, little tools that will facilitate different aspects of putting a course together. They're now bringing on various student support tools, and down the road there is a lot of potential for um, the kind of analysis that large language models can do to help us, kind of manage and administer the D2L platform. So this is going to be a fairly straightforward, I think, workshop. I just want to look at, I'll start off with D2L Lumi summary as a very simple way to talk about how some of these AI course support tools have been implemented, because we'll see the same kind of functionality when we go to generating question library items and getting ideas for assignment and discussion topics. So let me switch over to the sandbox course that I'm using for the sessions today. Um, in building out your course, you presumably you're going to figure out what kind of course structure, what modules you're going to have, whether you set up your course in terms of weekly modules or units of the course. Within those modules, you're likely going to be providing various resources that you want your students to work on. You're going to be adding various activities, whether those are quizzes or assignments or maybe discussion forums. In Brightspace parlance, whether it's a resource or an activity, they're all topics. And so I'm starting here with this. Let's say this is a first unit for my Search for Life in the Universe course, where we're, going to address, well, what do we mean by life? Okay. So at this point, I'm, in the process of building this module. Um, I know I've got several different documents that I want students to work on. So I've got this kind of two-pager chapter excerpt from Carl Sagan. I've got a little bit longer document here, a couple of longer documents. This PDF is, a capture that I made of this web article. And so I've got these that could be the basis for our conversation about what is life. Well, it'd be kind of nice to have a description for this module to describe what we're going to be doing here. And so you can click on add a description as the instructor here, and you can go ahead and type in, the description of what we're going to be doing in this module. I don't know about you, but I oftentimes have blank page syndrome, right? So I'm looking at here, I'm thinking, okay, well, I really don't like for something as basic as this, for something that is useful, but maybe not critical. I really don't necessarily want to have to put a whole bunch of time into coming up with a whole lot of verbiage to talk about what we're going to be, to have a basic description of what's going on in the module here. So if you look here, you've got the basic Brightspace editor, but up here there is this generate summary. And whenever you see this kind of symbol, this is a link to the AI assistance tools that D2L is building into Brightspace. So I can click generate summary here, and you will see, what does this AI tool do? Um, and for the Lumi summary tool, it's pretty straightforward. It's going to build a description of the module based on what you got in the module. Well, currently, the only thing I have in the module right now are these resources, but theoretically, I could have added assignments or quizzes or you know, Brightspace web pages, other kinds of topics, and the generate summary tool will look at all of those or look at specific ones of them to use as a basis for generating a draft of the discussion. Um, you can leave this as the default. I think we'll go ahead, since I don't think this is going to be a real time generator, and click Generate Summary. And hopefully, didn't take that long earlier this morning. Hopefully it won't take too long now. If it does, I'll cancel and point to a fewer number of the module uh, topics. But what this is going to come back with is three different flavors, not too bad, three different flavors of a module description. One is from the student's perspective. So it says, I will learn about the fascinating challenge of defining life itself, blah, 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 blah. Discover why no single definition. So the first proposed draft is, from a student voice. Second one is from the instructor voice. You'll learn about this question. You will explore biochemical definitions, genetic perspectives, blah, 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 blah. The third is neither from the perspective of the student or the instructor, but is just looking at the topics in the module and is providing a description. And so you can, select one of these. Theoretically, if you canceled and you did it again, you would get slightly different versions because this is, going to be generative AI. Each time it should be a little bit different. Say I want to pick this one and click Insert. All this does is basically give me a non-blank page to start with. You still have the ability to say, okay, well, I don't really like how this was phrased. And you have the ability to use this as a starting point and edit it to your heart's content. Then when you're done, when you're satisfied, when you think that it not only captures what's in the module, but also captures the important things that you want to convey, just click Update. And if I go out to a different section, come back to this section, now there is a module description. Not a big, this is certainly not life-changing, right? But rather than me taking a half an hour to really think about, because it might on certain days take me a half an hour to come up with a what I want as a description, a basic description for the module, gives me kind of a starting point to edit. Again, it's nice, but hardly worth the price of admission. It's not the most significant tool in this suite that I can think of. But it does give you a good idea of the kind of approach here. So you've got a link to activate the tool. You can, let me go ahead and select, maybe I want to focus on these two documents in creating the module summary, and just take a couple minutes to generate the summaries again. And maybe I'll pick this one this time. And I'm going to replace the existing summary with the new one. And, it's shorter. I can edit this and then update it. And I've got the new course module description. The tool that I'm actually think is the most useful. Let me ask if there are any questions first, though. I mean, it's basically locate an opportunity where there is a link to the tool, activate it, pick what content you want it to work off of, look to see what it generates, because it doesn't create the item for you. It creates basically a draft. You have the ability to edit it. When you're happy with it, you can finalize it. What I find more of interest, though, is the ability to use the Lumi tools to generate question bank items. So I want to take a little bit of time to talk about, what roles Brightspace quizzes can play in our courses. Most of our courses are face-to-face courses. Let me stop sharing for a minute. Let me just ask, I mean, who is teaching online? Who's teaching on site?
On site.
Yeah. So most of us are teaching on site. Most of our teaching face-to-face courses. Oftentimes, when I'm doing quizzes in my in-person courses, I'll be doing quizzes in class, right? So why might we be using quizzes in Brightspace? Well, I like to use low stakes formative quizzes in Brightspace as a way to assess, engagement with the readings or readiness to engage in class. I have, for my courses in the last several years, routinely put low stakes formative quizzes into Brightspace that I expect students to complete ahead of our course sessions. And I want them to be a way for students to engage with the material. So I will usually set up my Brightspace quizzes where students have the ability to take the quizzes, up to up to 5 times if they want, where they're getting a different set of 10 questions each time they take the quiz. And those questions are drawn from a pool of a large question bank that are related to the readings, to the websites, and other background material for our work in class. And so to be able to have the students take each of these low stakes quizzes, up to 5 times, seeing a different random set of questions each time, that's a lot of questions for me to have to write. And, typically I use multiple choice questions so that students can, take the quiz after engaging with the content, or even before. If they've got the chance to do each quiz 5 times, Maybe even before they do the reading, they want to take the quiz once just to, get a sense of how familiar they are with the area before they go to the reading. So that's a lot of multiple choice questions to write. I went for several decades not writing multiple choice questions because, that wasn't the way I wanted to do formal assessment of students. But for this formative practice kind of test, I had to, get back into the habit of writing multiple choice questions. And if I'm going to, give each student, 5 shots at a quiz with 10 random questions each time, that's a lot of questions for me to have to write. And so I've been using Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT for helping me to, write draft questions over various content areas that I then have to massage and put into a format that I can get into Brightspace. Well, Lumi Question basically does that within Brightspace. It looks at your course content, generates draft questions, and you have the ability to vet those questions. And once you are happy with the questions, they go right into your Brightspace question library for you to incorporate into quizzes. So let me go ahead and share my screen again to go back into look at that. So I've got this module where I've got all these documents about, how do we define life? What are the different aspects of life? What are different definitions? How do those different definitions compare? Um, I could read through all those documents. I could start, writing questions in Word and then worry about getting those questions into Brightspace. I will say that when I, did work with Claude to generate draft multiple choice questions, I did teach Claude how to export those questions that I ended up wanting to use in a format that I could directly import into Brightspace. So that is a possibility. But if I go to course tools, you have 2 ways of getting to the question library. You can just select question library from the course tools menu. But if you are working in quizzes, there's a link to the question library here as well. Whether you come this way or whether you go course tools, question library, you get to your question library and you can see I've already set up a what is life um, section in my question library. Um, if I'm going to randomly draw questions from the what is life material to use in quizzes, it's really important to have it segmented into a section in your question library. So I can go into the what is life section. I have no, questions. I could manually start creating multiple choice questions. I theoretically could do true, false, or other questions that could be automatically scored. But now there is this generate questions option. Again, you can see the same. Here's an AI tool symbol here. I can generate new questions or I can generate question variants. Well, I have no questions to generate question variants off of, so let me select generate new questions. And I have basically how many questions, what kind, and what level of Bloom's taxonomy. Now, to make things go more quickly, I'm not going to have, you can do as many as 10 questions at a time. I'm just going to have a few here. You can do multiple choice, true, false, short answer, written response. I'm going to do multiple choice. I'm going to say, this is a non-majors gen ed course. I'm going to generate some understanding level questions I'm going to generate some application level questions, maybe a few analyze, but let me start with understand. You can provide custom instructions, although you don't have to. You can determine whether or not Lumi question adds feedback. So if you've got a multiple choice question in Brightspace, you've got the question, you've got the four, different answers, one of which is correct. Each of those answers can have their own individual feedback. In the interest of time, I'm not going to worry about including feedback. And now I'm going to select the course activities, and I'll go to the What is Live section. And again, in the interest of time, I'm not going to select all of these. In fact, I probably wouldn't anyway. I would probably do this as an iterative process. I would go to let's do the Sagan article because it's short. That will hopefully speed things up here as well. I would maybe go and generate 10 understanding questions off of the Sagan article and 5 application questions, and then do the same thing for these others. So I had a large question bank, and I'll click apply, and I've got 3 multiple choice questions at the understanding level from this one source. I click generate. Hopefully it won't take too long. While this is cranking out, are there any questions? Oh, not too bad. So here, these are 3 questions, and they're all pending review. I can go in and let's review this question. Which statement best argues physiological definition is inadequate, relies too heavily on molecular components? Many properties identified are present in non-living machines or absent okay, so that's obviously the correct answer. Fails to account. So I could, at this point, I could tweak any of the language here, or I could say, yeah, I'll keep this one. Let me keep this one and go on to the next one. Here's the next question. I mean, this looks like a fine question, but let me just show you, you can at this point, and you can, obviously, with multiple choice questions, you can randomize the question order. You can update and keep and go to the next one. And for this one, I'll just for variety's sake, I'll say, okay, well, I don't like this one at all. I'm not even going to try to fix it. I'm just going to discard it. And so I've got 2 questions. This one has been reviewed and thought okay. This one has been edited and is thought okay. And I will save them to the section, to this current section that I'm in. And now I've got a couple of multiple choice questions. So again, generate new questions. I'm going to again do 3 questions. Let's do from the application level. And let me select a different document. Let me go to the defining life document, apply, generate. And so, this does within Brightspace what I had been doing with Claude, but it's a lot easier to get the questions into the question library. Again, with Claude, I could say, okay, I like these questions. Please export them into this plain text document format using the conventions that I've told you about Claude so that I can import them directly into Brightspace. This is just a little bit slicker. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to say keep and next for all of these and save them to the current section. You can see this is a way that you can quickly generate a large question library to support this idea of having the ability for students to do multiple quizzes in a low stakes format. And so I could go into course tools here, quizzes, create a new quiz, do, what is life? Uh, create a new question pool. And I am going to call this the What is Life question pool. And I'm going to go into my What is Life question library. Now, ideally I'd have 30, 40, 50 questions here for how I would normally want to do this. But now I can import these questions into a question pool. I'll select all 5 of those from the 5. No, actually, well, I would have had a question pool of, say, 40 questions, and I would select 5 or 10 questions from that question pool. That way, each time a student opens this quiz up, they will have a different set of questions. And I click Save and Close. And I've got this What is Life quiz that's not available to students yet, but if I go into gradebook, should have been added as no. Oh, because I didn't put it in the gradebook. So it's 5 points. I want to add it to the gradebook, and let me give it a due date. Sometime down the road. So I would say that this use of the AI functionality in Brightspace, in my mind, is a lot more game-changing than just, hey, help me write a summary for the course module. This allows me to manage the job of creating a question bank large enough to support the kind of low stakes formative assessment that I'm hoping to use in my courses. So I was much more interested in Lumi Question than some of these others. But let me just quickly show you Lumi Idea for assignments and Lumi Idea for discussions. Um, If we go to, again, look at the course content, I've got this unit about what is life. Well, maybe I want the students to have an assignment that they work on around these documents. And I could go into course tools and go to assignments and create a new assignment. Call it the What is Life assignment. Make it 20-point assignment. Make it due again down the road a bit, maybe toward the end of next month. And I have read the articles. I've got some ideas about what I want students to work on, but it's always nice to have a second opinion. So I could click generate assignment ideas. And again, how many ideas do you want it to generate? We'll keep it short for the workshop purposes. But here I want to be, like at the evaluate level of Bloom's taxonomy. Let's select the course activities. And I want to compare, I want the students to really compare those two documents and maybe use this one. Focus on comparing what did I? Cancel. Um, and click generate. And again, it's going to look at the content, do the same kind of large language model analysis, pull out the key points from the different sources, focusing on comparing the different ones. So evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of the three approaches to defining life. This definition, that's a definition. Thermodynamic definition. That's kind of interesting. Decide whether humanity should be classified as life or, no, that's a little bit too out there for what I want to do right now. Select the most reliable universal biosignatures for detecting life across different planetary environments. I might not have thought about doing that one. Let's take a look at that one and insert. And again, it's just a kind of a draft. You have the ability to go in and tweak it however you want, but it gives you a starting point. Might bring up some associations or comparisons between the documents that you might necessarily not have thought about. And so I'll click Save and Close. And that's basically Lumi IDEA for assignments. Just to round things off here for completeness, I could here create a new discussion. And again, I'll call this, the what is life discussion. And just gonna leave this ungraded, but I still am interested to see what what discussion prompt ideas come up here. And because I did this from within the What is Life module, it has the option, well, do you want to include all of the activities or just some of them? So again, to be judicious on time, let me just pick the Sagan definitions of life, resource, and generate. This should come back pretty quickly. So, these ideas are not qualitatively different, I think, than the ideas you would get for the Lumi idea for assignments. It's just the tool, the workflow on the tool is set to, drop this into the discussion prompt for the discussion that you are Yeah, I really like the thermodynamic definition and genetic definition most because those are the ones that really flow into the NASA definition of life. So let me pick this second prompt and I'll click insert and save and close. And now, oops, I need to create a form because I don't have any forms in this sandbox course. Save and close. And now there is a discussion forum in the What is Life module that my students can interact on. So as of now, because we don't have new content experience in terms of AI tools to support faculty workflows, it's really the module description, the question bank, which I think is probably the highest value of the tools, and then just getting prompt ideas for assignments and discussions that you can build off of or throw away if you don't like them. Let me just quickly mention um, that I've been part of this SUNY AI Tutor project for the last year and a half, close to 2 years now. There's the idea of bringing up a platform to support faculty exploration into the use of AI tutors to support their instructional goals in their courses. We know that there are already faculty across the system that are doing their own custom chatbots. Some are out in Gemini, some are in ChatGPT. I would probably be working in Claude myself. We're looking to provide a SUNY protected, supported, secure option for AI tutors that could be more broadly adopted across faculty as faculty see fit to support what they're trying to accomplish with their courses. I really looking forward to when I can have a little mini me, Professor Mini Me, who would be able to, support students. I'm close to 24/7 in my response, but not quite. And there are some things that, students really just kind of want to ask anonymously rather than going to the instructor for. Um, Lumi, the company that D2L is working with, LearnWise on these different Lumi AI uh, applications like Lumi Tutor and Lumi Chat. Um, there is an AI tutor in functionality that we are planning to roll out in time for next spring's courses. So, that would mean probably by October, or late October, early November, when courses are available for the spring semester, where faculty could create custom chatbots within their Brightspace courses. So, if I were teaching a philosophy course, it might be nice to be able to control what material gets fed into a Socrates chatbot so that I can control how I could give students a custom chatbot for them to have a conversation with Socrates. And I would know what material is being fed into that rather than whatever has been scraped from across the internet. That's the idea. We're, I think, on track to have the ability by the spring for faculty within Brightspace to be able to customize different flavors of custom chatbots to support, different instructional goals that they have for their courses. So with that, I'll stop sharing. Again, the tools that are available currently to support faculty workflows in putting their courses together, they're pretty straightforward. They are, very concrete places where large language models working on the course materials that you point the functionality at can help you generate content, whether that's a course description, items for your question library, ideas for assignments or discussion forum prompts. You see if there are any questions. Like I say, the one that I think is most worth the price of admission is Lumi Question, given what I'm trying to accomplish with my low stakes formative assessments. Okay.
I'd be interested in you answering Kristen's question, and I have a similar one about if when you're uploading these Socrates materials or whatever materials you want to train the chatbot, is this an external LLM somewhere, or is this a one that's on a SUNY or Purchase server? So with regards to questions about privacy and
Right.
copyrighted materials and so forth.
So in terms of like Lumi Question, what can you feed in to generate those questions off of? If you're using a publisher's text, right, and you just have a link to the publisher's text in your Brightspace course, Lumi Question is not going to be able to access those. And it's probably not, I'll say it's probably not kosher for you to capture a copy of that, put it into your course as a document, and then run that into Lumi Question. The any SUNY relationship with an AI vendor has the same data accessibility and data security and privacy and intellectual property rights protections that is involved in any SUNY contract. None of the materials that are processed by any of the Lumi Pro tools in Brightspace go anywhere. I mean, they go, all of our materials, since we're, Brightspace is a cloud-based solution, will go to servers at D2L. They're not SUNY servers, but they are firewalled or closed garden kind of situation where the materials are not going off anywhere else. Now, will some flavor of ChatGPT or Claude or other large language models be involved in the actual in the processing? Yes, but within that protected environment. It's not like going out to my regular Claude account and uploading stuff there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does to me. I had a follow-up question. I don't know if we have time, or maybe someone else has a question. So I've had this question in class before, and I think maybe a lot of us are thinking about this. I don't think there is a Purchase or SUNY-wide policy about AI use for students, kind of guidelines or in terms of like what you can and cannot do with AI in the classroom. So it's my understanding this is a per faculty decision about putting restrictions on AI in the syllabus.
Yep.
And so if that's true, and if we're regulating or policing the use of AI for quizzes and papers, it seems to me we're standing on really shaky ground if we're then generating AI text for our module descriptions and quizzes and for our, assessments. I remember very early on when ChatGPT had just been released, a student said to me, what's preventing us from putting our reading into ChatGPT and writing the summary using ChatGPT, and you would never know. And I was like, you're right, I would never know. And then I would just take that assignment and I'd grade it with ChatGPT. So if you're going to use ChatGPT, I'm going to use ChatGPT, and none of us are learning or experiencing anything on our own. So I just this is such a slippery slope, and I'm curious, your perspective on this as you're showing us these tools and encouraging us to use them, and if there is a place on campus where these conversations are happening around, guidelines and boundaries and what we should do more collectively rather than the burden be totally on faculty, and also from the students' perspective to have different kind of expectations and restrictions or non-restrictions, I think is quite confusing.
Yeah. So first of all, SUNY Board of Trustees passed a policy last spring that will require all campuses to have an AI policy. So that's something we're going to be working on this fall. December 31st
And is that
our
the
deadline.
policy December 31st? Okay. And when we say that's something that we're working on, who's working on that?
Well, we will be working on it, and it will be one of the first topics that is going to be on the table for governance this fall. Who should be brought into the conversation? In terms of slippery slope, I mean, when I taught my Mars course this last spring, I started off with a survey where I said, here are 10 different ways that I, as an instructor, might use AI. Which of these do you think is appropriate, which is not appropriate? Here are 10 or 12 or whatever different way, everything from very innocuous to very egregious ways that your fellow students might be using AI. Which do you find appropriate? Which do you find not appropriate? And it was interesting. The students were pretty hard on themselves about what they thought was inappropriate use of AI by students. And there were egregious examples that I listed for instructor too that got a no, it's not appropriate. I did tell the students, well, listen, I'm going to be using AI to help me generate questions for the question library because I have this particular pedagogical goal. And to make that happen, I need a large number of questions. I laid out the 2 or 3 different ways that I would be using AI to support the course. I think that kind of transparency is important. There is a lot of.
Did you allow them any ability to use AI, and if so, how, and or there's limitations to it?
I mean, it varies. I think my ideal policy would recognize that different courses and different assignments have different needs, right? And there are places where use of AI can get the students to the learning outcomes more quickly. And there are places where use of AI undercuts the learning outcomes entirely. And the question is, differentiating those and having a clear conversation with the students about that. Now, this idea of policing AI use, I think is it's a Sisyphean task. I don't think it's really reasonable. I mean, there's no good foolproof AI detection software, no magic bullet. It really is a focus on, I mean, I'm more focusing on authentic assessments that happen in the classroom. I haven't gone back to everyone writing their exams on blue books, but there's certainly a lot of that going on across universities and colleges across the country. I think we all have to have a informed conversation about what does teaching and learning look like in an age where we've got these tools available. And we can't just say no use of AI, because our students need to be able to use AI ethically and effectively when they get out of here. Yeah, those are my ideas anyway.
I appreciate that, Keith. Yeah, I think on the flip side, the kind of just indiscriminate use of AI, it's really, I mean, in terms of slippery slope, once you open up to certain aspects and have transparency and on both sides, I think, and the fact that policing is almost 100% impossible, then basically we have AI reigning over education. I hope I'm wrong, but that's just what I see in kind of my experience with students who, it's very convenient, it's very easy, it's very effective. And then to make all kind of assessments happen in person in class really is impossible for most of us in terms of what we want to do in class. So yeah, I mean, this is a much bigger conversation than in this, 45-minute workshop, obviously. I'm just curious your thoughts on that, and where the places at Purchase we can be having these conversations, especially now knowing that this deadline is, a couple months away.
Yeah. No, these are important questions. I mean, obviously, intrinsic motivation on the part of students is a big part of having them want to do the activities that are important for the learning outcomes. And, if we can identify things that aren't that important for the learning outcomes that can be done more effectively by making use of tools, well, that's something. But I mean, all the courses I teach are non-majors gen ed, and students are there just to get a check off, right? And so I have to think quite deeply about, well, what does authentic assessment mean? How do I encourage intrinsic motivation on the part of these students who are there not because they're not because they're interested in becoming a scientist, but they need natural sciences credit, and they might be more interested in Mars than some other option. It's not easy. Anyway, yeah, we will have we'll certainly be having